Hey Kieran, welcome to my humble dojo. This will be the first of your Qigong videos. Probably take me about maybe half a dozen to go through the full sequence, which is called the 8 silk brocade. So what I'm going to do today is start with talking about the breathing technique, which is the cornerstone of the discipline. Correct breathing gives you the full benefits of these exercises, and it becomes a meditation in motion, so to speak. So, and then I'll show you the horse stance, which is the cornerstone exercise for practicing that breathing, and then starts to allow you to build up your core strength, which is fundamental to being a good Qigong practitioner. And then I'll show you the first two exercises of the sequence. The first one acts as a kind of warm-up, and that's called Scoop the Stream. And the second one is a stretching exercise and balance, actually, and that's called Separate Sky and Earth. So back to the breath. Breathing is, Qigong means breathing power, simply put, you know what I mean, or breathing proficiency. So you can have Kung in anything you do. You can have Kung proficiency in. Qi is breath, Qi is the life force, prana. Okay, so the technique is very straightforward. You're going to be breathing in and out through your nose. As a new practitioner, I would recommend you start with a 15-second cycle, and you would breathe in for 5 seconds and breathe out for 10 seconds. So a ratio of 2 to 1. As you become more proficient and more experienced, that ratio will increase. So I can now, if I want to, do a 20 to 30 second in breath and then do an out breath for, well, I've done up to 8 minutes, so if you've got nothing better to do, you can just breathe out for 8 minutes. So that's it. So in terms of technique, and like I said, the best way to practice it, particularly as a newer person, but even as an experienced practitioner, is standing in horse stance. Tongue position needs to be against the roof of your mouth and lightly pressing against the upper teeth, because the tongue acts as a kind of valve, basically. Get yourself a clock with a second hand. Practice with that tongue position and breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. You want to look straight ahead, so you don't want the head up or the head down. Nice and relaxed. Try and be as relaxed as possible in that kind of breathing mechanism area, your throat, esophagus, going down to your diaphragm. Diaphragm, dome-shaped muscle just below your ribs. What you're aiming to do always is not breathe from that upper half to third of the lungs, which most people do when they mouth breathe. Most people take about roughly 12 breaths a minute. Even as somebody doing Qigong for the first time, you should be able to slow it down to 4 breaths a minute. So a huge decrease in that rate. And it's that actually starts to give you the benefits of both fitness and health for the Qigong. So tongue against the roof of the mouth, lightly pressing against the back teeth. Clock with a second hand, in for 5 seconds, out for 5 seconds. And I'll show you the horse stance. This is the best position, like I said, to practice that breathing. And it's actually fundamental to all martial arts training. So even if you do karate, taekwondo, horse stance will always be a fundamental part of building up core strength. And you'll see why. I'll show you the position, okay? So this is horse stance. Okay, so that's the position, the best position in which to practice your breath. Now you can see the feet are shoulder width apart, slightly pointing outwards, anything up to 45 degrees. You don't need to push them any further than that, because you'll start to put pressure on your knees. The shoulders are relaxed, all the joints are relaxed. Now this is important. In terms of the pelvis, you need to tilt it slightly forward, so you're not stood like that, which is okay. But you need to come forward a little bit with the pelvis, because that really allows you to start to use those inner and outer abdominal muscles, and that's what will build up your strength. Men naturally tend not to be as strong as women in that area, so we really benefit from increased practice in that position. I'll just show you what I mean from the side, okay? So standing straight and tilting the pelvis. Straight, tilt, okay? You can see that difference. It's just a matter of 2 or 3 inches, just that little push. And what you want to do is try and maintain that straight back position, and that tilt of the pelvis will allow you to do that all the way through the sequence, okay? But we'll come back to that a bit later. So that's the horse stance. So use that to practice that breathing technique. Make sure your arms are away from your body, because that allows the energy to start to flow around you. And what you're going to aim to do, the chi is stored in your third eye, your pineal gland. It's called the din chin or dan chin. It's held there, the chi, and that's the spiritual chi. And the physical chi is a couple of fingers below your navel, just there. And what you're aiming to do is start to circulate the energy in between there and there, so it starts to go around, okay, around your body. So don't have your arms tight like that. Bring them away from the body and stay nice and loose, so you're ready to move, okay? Hope that all makes sense. I'm sure it does. Now, I'll show you the first 2 exercises today. Like I said, there's 8 separate exercises in the sequence. The more competent you get, what you're aiming to do is join up those 8 exercises to become 1 exercise. So it's like a dance with 8 moves, so to speak, you know. So, and there's basically every movement within that sequence will either correspond to an in-breath or an out-breath, and you always change position whilst on the out-breath. But like I said, we'll get to that a little bit later. So first exercise, this acts as a kind of warm-up for the 8-salt brocade, called scoop the stream. Very gentle exercise. You don't do this in horse position, you do this in a kind of ballet position. And I'll just show you that. Feet together, knees flexible, pelvis slightly tilted. Okay? Now that's the ballet position. So I'm going to be in that position when we do this exercise. And I'll call out the breathing sequence as I make the movements. Very gentle, very easy, but gets you balanced on both the vertical and horizontal axis. Okay, brilliant exercise. Scoop the stream. Ballet position. Tilted pelvis. Okay? Start there, hands clasped. Just believe that point where your chi is stored. Then you're going to come up on the in-breath. Bring the middle fingers together. That's kind of arm position, so you can really feel your shoulders and up the back. Then down on the out breath. Back to that start position. Up on the in-breath. Hold. And then down on the out breath. In-breath. Out breath. In-breath. Out breath. One more. In-breath. Out breath. In-breath. Out breath. So, straightforward exercise, nice and gentle, but a really good stretch. And it starts to facilitate the flow of energy, like I said, okay? Will build up your core strength even though you're in that ballet position because the pelvis is tilted. And it's a really nice stretch. So you start to work the sinews and the tendons in your body. Strength in kind of traditional Chinese martial arts, including breathing martial arts, is related to sinew strength or tendon strength, not muscles per se. So the Chinese aim to be strong like a cat rather than say an ox. So cats, pound for pound, are massively strong and massively quick. That could generate power through movements, okay? So be cat-like, all right? So breathe in, horse stance, scoop the stream. I'll show you the second one, which is called separate sky and earth. That again is going to be in that ballet position, okay? And I will show you how to conjoin the first two exercises the next time we do a video. So this is a stretch and balance because you actually go up on your toes, okay? But I'll call it out. Seeing is believing, yeah? Separate sky and earth. One hand at the front, one hand at the back, and then in the ballet position, in breath, press down with the back hand and press up with the forehand, okay? Now, when you do come up, you also go up on your toes. So in breath, press up, okay? And then reverse it, out breath. As the hand gets to this position, you go back to the floor with your feet, take the hand outwards. In breath, you bring it in, up on the toes and press with both hands. Out breath, down, feet to the floor, out, all breathing outwards. In breath. Out breath. You do the same on both sides to get that vertical balance. In breath. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. Feet to the floor. Okay, your feet are going to drop to the floor as you come down and the hand gets to this kind of point, to the floor. Okay? Hope that makes sense. All right. And if it doesn't, what can I say? I know you're quick on the uptake, so it won't be a problem. Yeah, you'll probably get some idea just by watching that little bit that I've just done of that necessity for breath control. The more you can control the breathing, the easier it is to control those movements, okay? And you can really start to control that out breath aspect of things, all right? And that gives you much, much greater kind of lung capacity. You're really working the lungs because you're having to work, because you're breathing in and out through your nostrils, which is a much smaller aperture, one hopes, than the mouth, okay? As the old Chinese sage used to say, use the nostrils to breathe, okay? Because you wouldn't want to eat a spring roll with your nose. So mouth for eating, nose for breathing. I think that's what he said. I'm sure he did. Anyway, that's it for the moment, mate. I'm actually going to take 10 minutes and I'm going to do a little bit of Qigong of my own. Some more advanced stuff. But that's for a later day. All right, brother? So, enjoy that. Adios, amigo.